Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine looking at your spice rack, and pulling out something so familiar, so everyday, that it seems kind of impossible it could hide. Surprising, maybe even historically significant medical secrets. We're talking about Cinnamomum selanicum, good old cinnamon.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're drawing from a really fascinating historical text, excerpts from William Boericke's Homeopathic Materia Medica. Our mission today really is to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the surprising insights from this specific text about how cinnamon was used traditionally. We want to offer you a kind of shortcut to understanding its detailed applications from this particular medical tradition.
That's right. We're not just, skimming the surface here. We're going to explore its specific documented uses, the precise conditions it was prescribed for, and even the exact preparation methods outlined in this historical text. You might just look at your cinnamon jar a bit differently after this.
Definitely. What's immediately striking, I think, is how Boericke's Materia Medica opens by highlighting an incredibly broad spectrum of applications for cinnamomum. Some of them are genuinely unexpected for a simple kitchen spice.
I agree. The first detail that truly makes you pause is its mention for cancer where pain and fetor are present, and it specifically notes the condition when skin is intact. Fetor. Now, for listeners, fetor here means an offensive or unpleasant odor, so a common spice linked to cancer symptoms and smell, but when the skin isn't even broken. What does that specific nuance tell us about Boericke's observational approach compared to maybe how we might think about such conditions today?
Well, it really highlights the meticulous, symptom specific observation that was absolutely crucial in homeopathic prescribing back then. They weren't just diagnosing a disease in the way we might now, they were cataloging the specific manifestations of it. But then the text quickly shifts to an area where it reports abundant clinical verification, that's a strong phrase, for hemorrhages or bleeding. This suggests Boericke felt there was pretty solid evidence for its effectiveness in those cases.
And it dives into really remarkable detail on the types of hemorrhages. It lists nosebleed, hemorrhages from bowels, and hemoptysis, which means coughing up blood. But it gets even more precise, describing a scenario where, get this, a strain in loins or false step brings on a profuse flow of bright blood. That's incredibly specific. Why such granular detail, do you think?
That granularity is, it's precisely the point in homeopathy. The aim is always to find the simillimum, the one remedy that most closely matches the individual's unique symptom picture. So the cause of the bleeding, the type of blood, even seemingly minor details like a false step, they're all considered critical for picking the right remedy. And beyond the bleeding, the source also mentions it for flatulency and diarrhea.
And even for feeble patients with languid circulation, it really does make you appreciate the sort of interconnected thinking of these historical practitioners. Seeing how conditions we might consider separate today were often linked back then, it kind of prompts you, the listener, to consider the multifaceted ways natural remedies were historically approached, not just for one single ailment, but for a whole constellation of symptoms.
Absolutely. And speaking of that interconnectedness and a really specific observation, the Materia Medica then dedicates a striking amount of detail to female health. This really reveals how precise these observations truly were.
They really zeroed in, didn't they? It notes a bearing down sensation, for example. And the characteristics of menses are described not just generally as heavy, but specifically early, profuse, prolonged, bright red. That's a lot of descriptive power in just a few words.
Exactly. And accompanying symptoms are also listed, things like feeling sleepy and having no desire for anything. And this intriguing detail that fingers seem swollen, it also elaborates on uterine hemorrhages, specifically those caused by overlifting or occurring during puerperal state, which is the period right after childbirth, as well as menorrhagia, which is unusually heavy menstrual bleeding. What's fascinating here is how practitioners cataloged not just the conditions themselves, but the subtle nuances of how they showed up in patients. It creates a very individualized picture of illness.
It really shows how much they relied on specific patient observations. Okay, shifting gears a bit to the practical side. The text also details preparation and dosage, giving us a glimpse into historical medical practice itself.
Right, it talks about various potencies, like from tincture to third potency.
That's right.
Now, for those maybe less familiar with homeopathic preparation, a tincture is typically an alcoholic extract of the herb, so it's a relatively concentrated form. And potency refers to the degree of dilution, so third potency means it's been diluted and succussed. That's a specific, vigorous shaking process multiple times.
Okay, so you've got everything from a more straightforward herbal extract to these highly diluted preparations. But then it specifies a much stronger preparation for serious conditions, like the cancer symptoms mentioned earlier. A strong decoction, 1/2 pint in a day.
Ugh.
Wow, that's a significant amount of the raw herb. It's a really stark contrast in preparation depending on what they were aiming for.
Indeed. And here's where it gets, I think, truly fascinating. The remarkable claim that oil of cinnamon in aqueous solution is the best local disinfectant.
Wait, oil of cinnamon as a germicide and disinfectant. That really challenges our contemporary understanding of what constitutes the best local disinfectant. The source even gives exact instructions for using it: 3 to 4 drops in 2 quarts of water as a douche, wherever a germicide and disinfectant is needed. It sounds almost like a household remedy, something simple you'd just do at home.
It does. And it invites us to consider the whole spectrum of historical medical practices, doesn't it? From these quite potent preparations for serious conditions to remarkably simple remedies for common ailments. For instance, for something really common like hiccup, the text just suggests 3 drops on sugar. Simple as that.
That's quite the range, yeah. From heavy decoctions for severe issues to sugar drops for hiccups and even disinfectant use. Finally, the text briefly touches on the relationships section, giving us some context within the whole homeopathic system. What do these relationships actually mean?
So, in homeopathy, relationships describe how remedies interact or compare with each other. It compares cinnamome to substances like ipecac, sil, trill, which are short for ipecacuanha, silica, and trillium, other common homeopathic remedies. This helps categorize its properties and typical uses within their larger framework. It shows how one remedy might, say, complement or contrast with another.
Ah, I see. And it even provides a specific antidote: acon, referring to aconitum, another remedy. This section really does provide a glimpse into the interconnected nature of remedies within this system. It prompts you to think about how different substances were categorized and understood in relation to one another, not just standing alone.
Yeah, and if you connect this to the bigger picture, it really highlights the holistic and relational approach of these historical systems. Substances weren't just used for isolated symptoms, but were seen as part of a complex web of interactions.
So, what does this all mean for us looking back at this text? We've seen this really surprising breadth of applications for cinnamome and solanicum, according to Boericke, from its use in, pretty serious conditions like hemorrhages and even those cancer symptoms, down to common complaints like flatulence. And remarkably, as a local disinfectant, it's definitely a journey into a very different way of looking at medicine.
And this raises, I think, an important question for you, the listener, to consider. How do these incredibly detailed historical accounts, like the one we've just explored from Boericke, challenge or perhaps expand your own understanding of common natural substances like cinnamon? And maybe more broadly, what can these old texts teach us about the ongoing human endeavor to understand and, well, harness the healing potential of the world around us?